Live from Lagos, Nigeria, this is News Central. I'm Felicity Ezewike. The top stories tonight. U.S. proposes religious freedom bill, moves to ban individuals and groups accused of violations in Nigeria. NAFDAC dismisses reports claiming federal government holds enforcement of ban on production of sachet alcohol. Flags at half-mast as 9 people killed and dozens wounded following mass shooting in Canada's northeast British Columbia.
In business, Nigeria falls short of OPEC oil output targets for 6th consecutive month in January 2026.
And in sports news tonight, NFF president dismisses speculation about the future of Super Eagles coach Eric Shell and says the team can achieve success under the Malian.
Welcome. Tonight begins now. Thank you for joining us again. The United States has proposed targeted measures, including visa bans and asset freezes against individuals and groups accused of involvement in religious freedom violations in Nigeria. U.S. Congressman Representative Riley Moore on Tuesday announced via X, the introduction of the Nigeria Religious Freedom Accountability Act of 2026, co-sponsored by Chris Smith from New Jersey. The bill specifically names the former governor of Kano State, Rabiu, Kwankwaso, as well as Fulani ethnic nomad militias and associations such as Miyetti Allah Cattle Breeders Association of Nigeria and Miyetti Allah Kota Hore. The legislation directs the U.S. Secretary of State to determine whether certain Fulani militia qualify as foreign terrorist organizations under U.S. law, while also calling for humanitarian aid delivery in Nigeria's Middle Belt through trusted faith-based and non-governmental organizations. The United States has deployed about 200 troops to Nigeria to train the country's military in a fight against Islamist militants. An American military official said that the deployment comes weeks after President Donald Trump accused Nigeria of failing to protect Christians from terrorist attacks. The report said the troops were expected to strengthen Nigeria's counter-terrorism capacity through training and operational support. It added that the newly deployed personnel would supplement a small number of U.S. military advisors already in Nigeria who assist local forces with intelligence to identify targets for military strikes. For this conversation, I have with me security expert Awal Aliyu. Thank you very much for being here with us. What does history tell us about such sanctions from the U.S. over the years, and what impact, if any, have they had?
Well, thank you very much for having me. Like you rightly know, the United States, yes, is a partner to Nigeria, or Nigerians are partnering with the United States when it comes to economic and security matters. And then, so it is not a new thing that Americans are coming into Nigeria, for example, to come and partner in training of our troops in different angles, intelligence, cyber security, as well as all weaponry and what have you. So it's not a new thing. It is supposed to be a regular or a normal thing. But then there are certain things, like you rightly say, issue of sanctions. How much have they had impact in Nigeria, advantage or disadvantages? I want to recall the days of late head of state General Sani Abacha, where Nigeria had issues with America under the leadership of General Abacha, and there are a lot of sanctions that were coming on in then. And then I didn't see Nigeria going down as of that time. I think it has even helped to strengthen Nigerians and Nigerian government. It helped to redirect the thinking of Nigeria and Nigerian government towards self-reliance and self-independence. Somehow, it is not a good thing to have sanctions, but in other words, it can as well assist a country to be self-dependent, to be self-reliant, to redirect its own thinking, and then think outside the box and inwardly to see how you can firmly stand on your own without relying on any country's assistance or intervention. That is on one side. On the other side, naturally, sanctions deprive countries from a lot of foreign interventions, so to say. Foreign interventions, sales, trade and marketings and economic ties and things like that. So somehow also that one diminishes government, and it also impoverishes citizens, because the basic needs and wants of the citizens, because of sanctions and things like that, restrict a lot of things that citizens might benefit from if there are no sanctions. So it all depends on how you look at it and how the government view all these things and how committed a government is towards finding or a lasting solution to whatever challenge, and also boosting the economy and also enhancing the security of the country, as well as ensuring that the welfare and the well-being of the citizens are properly taken care of as a government that is elected by the people for it to come and serve the people, to protect lives and property, to protect freedom and liberty, and things like that. These are part of the things that we'll be looking into, both for advantage and disadvantage of sanctions on a country under whatever circumstances such a thing come into.
I'm at loss of which one to go with first. So I'll just go with the one that has to do with these allegations that we have. Neither Kwankwaso or the militias group have reacted to this announcement. I mean, it just came now. What kind of response do you expect from them, especially Kwankwaso, who was named as an alleged sponsor?
Well, I want to believe that Kwankwaso will naturally deny being involved in anything that he's been accused or alleged to have been involved in. I'm sure he may come up with his own defense on this very matter, and maybe further clarifications or disagreement on whatever the position of the American legislators, those American legislators, is all about on the part of Kwankwaso. And then speaking about Mietta Allah cattle breeders and Mietta Allah cattle hori, I think also they may also want to put up a defense. And I also know that the Mietta Allah cattle breeders is not just a Fulani organization, so to say. For everybody that rear cattle within Nigeria, I think is a member of Mietta Allah Cattle Breeders. Mietta Allah Cattle Breeders is a business organization. It is initiated for the purpose of business, that is rearing of cattle and rearing and then selling, marketing of those cattle.
Yes, even though they were, their business entity, they still have some comments that they make when some of these killings occur, either in defense of their members or in annoyance at being accused of some of these. Expectedly, there will be some response. But I wanted you to also talk on the part, when you say sanctions, this is not the first time we're hearing the U.S. saying they're going to sanction. Of what impact will it be really? I mean, these individuals can only be impacted when they say they want to go to the United States or visa ban and stuff. They might choose not to go. People live in countries and never move out, and they don't feel like they're losing anything. That's on the one hand. On the other hand, the federal government over time have said, you said yourself, their responsibility is to protect citizens. Do you think perhaps what they can take from this move by more is to carry out independent investigation to this allegation? Because before these people will come up to the assembly they would have done some sort of verification.
This is where I was going to head to before you interjected me. When I was speaking about Miete Allah Cattle Breeders as a business entity, while Miete Allah Cattle Hore is more like cultural organization, the Fulani cultural organization. Actually, the Miete Allah Cattle Hore is the actual Fulani cultural organization, while Miete Allah Cattle Breeders is a business entity that you have a Hausa man, you have a Yoruba man, you have an Igbo man, you have Ifig, you have a BBO, you have every other tribe as member of Miete Allah Cattle Breeders, because it deals with those that rear cattle and do the marketing of cattle, everything that has to do with cattle and meats, and the dairy and everything.
I'm sorry to interject, just
now,
in 30 seconds, quickly, please. Yes.
In response to that, your question, I would have thought what the congressmen should have done is to travel down to Nigeria, stay at least a week or more, investigate thoroughly, talk to people, reach out to various organizations, civil society organizations, faith-based organizations, human rights organizations, in the governmental agencies and things like that, to really dig deep to find out who is who, or who is doing what, or why is who doing what he's doing, and what are the remote and things like that. If that has been done, it would have been more justifiable than being back there in US and just taking a unanimous decision based on
some of them
information
they
are getting.
Some of them have been here on a fact-finding mission. They were in Nigeria late last year to, speak to people, like you said. But further investigation would be required. Thank you very much, Owao, for speaking with us. Coming up, Army reschedules screening for fallen soldiers' children in the education sponsorship scheme. That's after the break. Stay with us. You're watching Tonight on News Central. A reminder of our top stories. U.S. proposes religious freedom bill moves to ban individuals and groups accused of violations in Nigeria. NAFDAC dismisses reports claiming federal government holds enforcement of ban on production of sachet alcohol. And flags at half-mast as 9 people killed and dozens wounded following mass shooting in Canada's northeast British Columbia. Thank you for staying with us. Former Vice President Atiku Abubakar has criticized the Senate for refusing to authorize real-time transmission of election results through the Independent National Electoral Commission's result viewing portal, IREV. On Tuesday, lawmakers approved electronic transmission of results, but included a clause allowing manual collation as a fallback where technology fails. Speaking to journalists in Minna after meeting former head of state Ibrahim Babangida, Abubakar warned that the Senate's position could create confusion in the electoral process and undermine public confidence ahead of future elections. Staying with electoral matters, a cross-section of Nigerians are reacting to National Assembly's recent passage of the Electoral Act Amendment Bill, specifically the controversial omission of the real-time transmission clause. While the Senate successfully rescinded its decision on the term transfer in favor of transmit, the failure to mandate an instantaneous upload to the IREF portal has triggered a wave of skepticism. News Central hit the streets of Abuja to feel the pulse of the citizens. While some residents sealed the adoption of electronic transmission as a step forward, many others believe the lack of a real-time requirement leaves the door open for manual interference in future polls.
And make it reasonable that as the election is being concluded in the polling unit, it should be, transparent holistically for everyone to pass the judgment that yes, if Mr. A win, let it be Mr. A.
If the Senate have agreed that there's going to be transmission of results, that is fine. But the result has to be transmitted immediately the voters are voted.
I want to commend the Senate for listening to the voice of the people, because they are there for the interest of the people, and whatever bills or whatever parliamentary action they take, it affects the people.
It's disappointing to most of the Marxists
who view that real-time transmission will go about a lot of transparency within the system, and that will bring confidence to INEC. But unfortunately, they are the lawmakers. They have decided, for some reasons best known to them, to exclude the real-time from transmission of results. And that is giving INEC further burden of trust.
The only challenge I think I have is to INEC have the ability or the capacity to do that. Apart from INEC, the kind of network we have in Nigeria, we have more of an epileptic kind of network. Do we have the network to be able to do all that transmission?
Professor Adele Jinodu is a political scientist and former member of Nigeria's National Electoral Commission. He joins me now to help discuss, from the INEC perspective, the Electoral Act Amendment as it relates to real-time electronic transmission of votes. Prof, thank you very much for being here with us. I think at the heart of this is most probably a trust deficit with the people. This Senate seeming U-turn, which doesn't satisfy the people still, what's your thought as to their decision?
Thank you for inviting me, and good evening. I think electoral reform, particularly reform of the legal framework for elections, is very, very important and useful, particularly in bringing all kinds of opinions to bear on the process of the review of the electoral law. So I think it's important that we realize that there will be disagreements. Of course, we cannot have unanimity, but once the National Assembly takes a decision and takes a position, then it becomes law. So I think it's important.
Okay, I think we lost the professor a bit, but I mean, law is made for the people, by the people. So if the people are saying they're not quite happy, okay, Prof, I think we have you back. Go ahead, please.
No, I don't want to go into law by the people, because you can ask the question, who are the people? But the point I'm making is that it is an important process to have the law, to have the electoral law reviewed, because we have elections every 4 years. But I think since 1999, aspects of the electoral process that have not been addressed in the electoral review processes since 1999. Issue of corruption, for example, the financing. But what is important, the current exercise, trying to check a reputation of the powers of results electronically. So I think it's important to emphasize that point.
Okay.
But looking at what we have now, there are a number of gaps. That one of those gaps is that we still have ambiguity in the law. We need to clarify certain aspects. Particularly, it seems to me there's a confusion between transmission, electronic transmission of results, and collation of results. These are two different issues. And it seems to me that the electoral amendment process, particularly the bill that we have before the National Assembly now, and at the Senate level and at the House of Reps level, still leaves a lot of gaps in terms of what do you mean by the transmission, even if you agree that we transmitted, and how does that relate to the question of collation? The second gap, I think, is that we need also to see what is the relationship between INEC's power to make regulations regarding the conduct of elections and how that relates to statutory provisions in the electoral law or in the Constitution. So I think that is the second important issue that I think is that we should be taken into account. Okay. The third one is, of course, the whole need to audit elections. we've not been doing audit of elections. You know, elections take place, there are problems, and then we just start the whole process of another round of electoral law review without actually auditing to find out what actually went wrong with the last elections and what do we need to do about them.
Okay, I think you make an important point with the auditing of elections. So we really lack in that area. And just to add that as a question, how do you think we should go about doing the audit post-elections? But before you answer that, while the Senate approved the electronic transmission of vote, it says no real-time transmission. Is this really an impossible task for INEC? Real-time transmission of results from your experience?
No, it depends. It depends on what you mean by real-time. Real-time is, again, part of that is you cannot clear all ambiguities. So what does real-time mean? Immediately? Less than 1 hour? Less than 2 hours? So that will raise confusion about it. And I think for this reason, the Senate removed the whole notion of real-time from their own version of the amendment, 2022 election amendment bill.
Okay, there's part of the question you didn't take on. How would we go about post-election review so we don't continue to repeat the same mistake? While you're answering that, let me add another one to it. The question of if there was real consultation with INEC, this decision that the Senate has made, do you think INEC was properly consulted as to their capacity, what they can achieve before this decision was made?
Well, you know, the way these things happen with relation to electoral, for example, is that there will be consultations between various stakeholders. And INEC definitely is one of the stakeholders. So they will make input into the draft of the bill. It will be sent to them. They will make commentary on it. But the final decision lies with the National Assembly as the lawmaking, as having the lawmaking power to review the electoral law and have it assented to after it has been passed in the two houses of the National Assembly. So I think it's important to keep that in mind. INEC has an important role to play, and I think they should make their position clear on the controversy now. But there is no doubt that the ultimate decision is with the National Assembly, and they made their consultations. We may have questions about the consultation process. Who did they consult with? You know, whom did they listen to? Did they get written submissions and so on and so forth? And I think part of that whole process that I'm talking in terms of the gap is that process should also have involved an audit of what happened in 2023 to inform this current exercise. And I don't think that has been done. That review has not been done by the National Assembly. And I don't remember it's having been done since the first review after the 1999 election. So audit of the elections were very, very, and that is where INEC, it will be kind of a public hearing. INEC will also appear, all kinds of stakeholders will appear, you know, to say this is what is wrong with that kind of elections. You know, and matters arising from those elections will now be taken into consideration in drafting the new, drafting the review of the electoral law.
Yeah, Prof, these protests that we've seen in the past days that seem to have instigated an emergency session at the Senate only to come out with a result that the people are still dissatisfied with. Do you think these protests will amount to any real change, considering what we just saw? And should there be any reconsideration by Senate from your experience, or the law as they have passed is okay with you?
The law has not been passed. It is still going to harmonize the two versions,
beg your pardon,
the
yes.
Senate and the House of Reps versions. And I think in that whole process, some of these reactions will be taken into consideration. But the point one is also making is that process of harmonization should be tempered to the extent to which it is important to revisit the problems of the 2023 elections. You know, the country almost went to flame over those elections. And maybe INEC has done an internal review, but the National Assembly ought to do an internal review of a public hearing, what went wrong with the 2023 elections. They have not done that. I know they've gone on they had zonal meetings on the process of reviewing the 2022 Electoral Act, but they have not done a systematic database review of what went wrong with the 2023 elections. I think we need something like that. And I think moving forward, we also should routinize post-election audit. Every election cycle, there must be a post-election. I know INEC does that internally, but the National Assembly must also do that. I mean, you spend a whole 4 years, every electoral cycle, you spend almost 4 years reviewing the electoral law without doing an audit of the previous elections.
Thank you very much, Prof, for speaking with us, and for that quick catch that I missed. Thank you again. Still ahead, at least 20 killed in deadly cyclone in Madagascar. The story and more when we come back. To one of our top stories now, the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control has dismissed as false a publication alleging that the federal government directed the agency to suspend enforcement actions relating to the regulation of sachet alcohol and 200 milligram PET bottle alcoholic products. Director General of NAFDAC, Professor Mojisola Adeyeye, in a statement on Wednesday, described the publication as false, misleading, and does not reflect any official communication received by the agency from the federal government. She said NAFDAC operates strictly within the ambit of its statutory mandate and in alignment with duly communicated federal government policies and directives. Into education, the Nigerian Army has rescheduled its nationwide screening exercise for children of deceased soldiers under the Education Scholarship Scheme for the 2025-2026 academic session. In a statement issued on Wednesday by Major Yemi Sokoya of the Army Public Relations Headquarters 13 Brigade, the exercise earlier fixed for February 2 to March 6 will now hold from February 9 to March 13 nationwide. The Army also announced that the screening within the 82 Division area, including formations under the division, will take place at the Headquarters 82 Division in Enugu from February the 14th to the 17th, 2026. Let's tell you that the Minister of Education, Tunji Alausa, has commenced efforts aimed at combating active kidnapping and other security breaches in learning institutions. This was as the minister visited the Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps headquarters in Abuja in a bid to improve security in schools across the country. Officials say the visit is also aimed at redesigning the Safe School initiative to strengthen surveillance, provide early warning systems and rapid response mechanisms nationwide.
We will get to a point that every single school, both public and private school in the country, will have a panic button that if they see any suspicious activity, they can press that panic button. It goes straight to the local government control center. They will deploy the community guidance, the key response personnel to those schools. That's how we can bring this to the incidences of the cases of abduction and kidnapping in the schools to total end. We would be working on how to couple dependent funding together for the Civil Defense Corps to be able to do their work.
We established what we call Schools Community Security Vanguard. This Schools Community Security Vanguard means is a kind of advocacy team that we established nationwide, where we had engagements with principals of schools, parent teacher association, traditional rulers, youth leaders, and what have you. I'd like to assure you, that the Corps is with you. The Corps has already keyed into all the policies of schools protection, and we're ready to do more. We are going to also, moving forward, we're going to strengthen all our operational activities, and strategies so that we can work together to provide security.
The Senate has expressed fresh concerns over the resurgence of terrorist attacks across the country, despite significant budgetary allocations to the security sector. During a budget defense session on Wednesday, Chairman of the Senate Committee on Defense, Ahmed Lawan, described the current security landscape as worrisome and urged for more decisive action. Appearing before the committee, the Minister of Defense, retired General Christopher Musa, defended the ministry's 2025 performance while presenting the 2026 expenditure plan.
For 2025 budget performance, Mr. Chairman and distinguished members, the performance for the overhead was quite commendable, Mr. Chairman. And across the various cost centers, the sum of 21,698,278,348 naira and 08 kobo was appropriated, and practically all was released. We have 99.99%.
And to infrastructure, the Lagos State government has announced the closure of a section of the Lagos-Abeokuta Expressway for 4 weeks to allow for urgent repair works. The affected stretch runs from the U-turn bus stop to the Shango toll gate. According to the Commissioner for Transportation, the closure will enable the Federal Ministry of Works carry out rehabilitation on critical sectors of the road before it becomes unmotorable. And outside Nigeria, at least 20 people have been killed after a powerful cyclone tore through Madagascar's main port city of Toamasina. Authorities say Cyclone Gizani made landfall on Tuesday, leaving widespread destruction in its wake. Homes collapsed, trees were uprooted, and power lines snapped, plunging several neighborhoods into darkness. Madagascar's Disaster Management Office describes the situation as total chaos, with emergency teams recovering bodies from heavily affected communities. 9 people were killed and 27 others injured after a shooting at Tumbler Ridge Secondary School and a nearby residence in British Columbia. Police said the suspected attacker was found dead at the school with what appears to be a self-inflicted injury. The police said 6 victims were discovered inside the school, while another died on the way to the hospital. Officers later found 2 additional bodies at a home believed to be linked to the incident. Authorities issued an active shooter alert Tuesday afternoon as the campus went into lockdown. Investigators have not released the identities of the victims or suspect. Tonight returns with business, sports, and entertainment news. Stay with us.
Talking business now, Nigeria missed its OPEC oil production quota for the 6th straight month in January 2026. That's according to the cartel's latest monthly report. Crude output dropped to about 1.478 million barrels per day, down 1.27% from 1.497 million barrels per day in December 2025, based on secondary sources. The shortfall underscores ongoing production challenges, including infrastructure bottlenecks, crude thefts, insecurity, and operational inefficiencies in key oil-producing areas. Let's also tell you that Kenya is weighing another Eurobond issuance to refinance maturing debt and better manage its repayment schedule, Finance Minister John Mbadi said on Wednesday. The government floated Eurobonds in February and October last year to buy back bonds nearing maturity after concerns over its ability to repay a June 2024 note rattled markets and weakened the shilling. And while the current redemption profile appears stable, Mbadi said there is scope for further liability management, though no final decision has been made. And talking about the equities market, the NGX extended its advance as the all-share index gained about 0.78% to 178,184.35 points. Now lifting market capitalization to 114.377 trillion naira. Now the tone remained broadly positive, but gains were selective. We look at the sectoral performance now, even as we start with the banking industry that rose 1.58% right here, supported by renewed positioning in heavyweights like Zenith Bank and GTCO. Insurance added 1.53%, with ICO among the counters, attracting noticeable interest as sentiment improved in the space. Oil and gas tightly inched 0.02%, a relatively muted outing, I must say, compared to recent strong sessions in names like Seplat. And we see that consumer goods climbed 1.28% as defensive appetite persisted, while industrial goods slipped 0.02% following mild profit taking in Dangote Cement after its recent rally. That's it on business. I am Lekon Obanjo.
Nigeria Football Federation President Ibrahim Gusau has dismissed speculation surrounding Eric Shell's future, insisting the Super Eagles remain the ideal platform for the Franco-Malian coach to win major honors. Now, Gusau reaffirmed that Shell still has a year left on his contract and stressed that the federation is focused on stability and continuity. He noted that the quality and depth within the Nigerian squad currently provides the right environment for the coach to achieve his ambitions at the highest level. Highlighting the team's outing at AFCON 2025, Gusau pointed to Nigeria's attacking improvement under coach Eric Shell. Let's take a listen to Ibrahim Gusau.
Yeah, contract with Eric, and therefore whatever interest anybody will show on him, he has to wait until his contract expires. And basically, we don't want to bring some distraction on him, and because we quite well understand that he enjoys working with Nigeria, because it's not about team is interested in you, and it's not about because he has gotten the results with the Super Eagles. So if you go to the other team, despite the fact that they are going to give him more money, he's going to get the results. That's not the issue. The issue there, did they have the materials for him to work with to achieve what he wants to achieve? The dream of every single coach is to make sure that he achieves success, especially on higher tournaments.
The Nigeria Premier Football League has fined Wiki Tourist FC 7.5 million naira and ordered the club to play the remainder of their home matches at the New Jos Stadium following crowd violence during their 8th of February fixture against Katsina United in Bauchi. Now, the matchday 25 game, which ended 4-4, was suspended in the 78th minute after fans stormed the pitch following an equalizer, and injuries were reported, including to Katsina United's chairman and the referee, and dangerous objects were thrown onto the field. Now, the NPFL cited multiple breaches, including inadequate security, unsporting conduct, and holding match officials hostage. Wiki Tourist head coach Abdul Maikaba subsequently resigned amid the sanctions, now highlighting serious concerns over fan control and personal safety. Nigeria's under-20 women's team, the Falconets, have arrived in Senegal for the decisive second leg of their FIFA Under-20 Women's World Cup qualifying tie. They hold a slim 1-0 lead from the first leg in Abeokuta, where Kindness Ifeanyi's second-half header proved the difference. However, Nigeria will be without forward Janet Akekodomowe, who is sidelined through injury sustained in that match, testing the squad's depth. Now, with the World Cup qualification on the line, the Falconets must produce a disciplined and composed display away from home to protect their advantage. The team remains focused on finishing the job and booking their place in the next stage of the qualifiers. And that's it on Sports News Tonight. I am Okweoluwa Adebari. Entertainment is next with Edeo.
All right, and in the world of entertainment, it's about making milestones and setting new records, as Nigerian global star Tems has made history as the first African female artist to earn 7 entries on the Billboard Hot 100 chart. The milestone highlights her rising international influence, driven by both her solo hits and major collaborations with global superstars as well. Tems' steady presence on the U.S. charts not only reflects her personal success, but also signals the continued global expansion of Afrobeats, further cementing her status as one of Africa's most powerful and influential music exports. And here we say congratulations, and she needs all the flowers, we need to give it to her. Now, speaking about records again, and the Recording Industry Association of America, that's RIAA, has officially confirmed that Rihanna now holds the record for the most diamond-certified singles by any female artist, surpassing Katy Perry's previous milestone. A diamond certification signifies 10 million units sold in the United States, making it one of the industry's highest commercial honors. Now, this latest achievement further solidifies Rihanna's legacy as one of the most successful and influential pop stars of her generation, underscoring her enduring impact on global music and her unmatched commercial dominance. Yes, like I said, tonight's entertainment news was about women making moves, and we're always here to celebrate them. That's all on entertainment tonight, by the way.
Finally, tonight, Nigeria's literary community is mourning the death of Professor Emeritus Biodun Jeyefo, one of the country's most respected academics and a leading scholar of Nobel laureate Wole Soyinka. He was 80 years. The president of the Nigerian Academy of Letters, Andrew Haruna, confirmed that he died today, February the 11th. Fondly known as Professor BJ, he began his career at the University of Ife and later held teaching appointments at Kano and Harvard universities. Widely regarded for one of the most rigorous single-author studies in African post-colonial criticism, JF4 challenged claims that Soyinka's writing was merely obscure, instead highlighting its modernist depth. And that's the news tonight. But before we go, here's a quick reminder of our top stories. The U.S. has proposed religious freedom bill set to ban individuals and groups accused of violations in Nigeria. NAFDAC has dismissed reports claiming federal government holds enforcement of ban on production of sachet alcohol. Flags lowered at half-mast as 9 people are killed and dozens wounded following mass shooting in northeast British Columbia. Send us your eyewitness report to the number showing now on your screen. You can follow us on all social media platforms at News Central TV. You can watch live on DSTV channel 422, GoTV channel 23, Star Times channel 274, Evo TV, and on YouTube. Many thanks for watching.